Welcome to a More Beautiful World podcast with Susan Renee, a place for those of us with the desire to expand our consciousness, tap into higher vibrations of love, and to connect into a community where together we can make the world a more beautiful place. I'm so eager to share with you what I've learned on my journey in discovering how we're all connected and how what we do for one, we do for us all. Here, I'll be sharing my own experiences, knowledge, and expertise for how you can heal, transform, and ascend your being so that together we can create the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of A More Beautiful World. And in this episode, I am taking you through part 3 of my journey with the psychedelic toad of the Sonoran Desert, Bufo Alvarius. And in today's episode, part 3, we're talking about integration. So I'm going to be sharing today about the days that transpired after my ceremony experience, and also dive in and take you through all of the lessons and all of the blessings that have come into my life since the experience with the medicine ceremony. As I've said before, about 10% of earth and plant medicine work is done in the actual ceremony. And what really, though, heals and transforms us and our lives is what happens during the integration. So after my death and rebirth process, which hopefully you listened to parts 1 and 2 of this series, after that, what culminated and has carried forward with me in integration has been the most profound part of the entire journey. So I'm excited to share that with you today. And again, if you are interested in plant and earth medicines, if you're curious to know more about Bufo and 5-MeO DMT and what that experience is like, and if you're interested really in healing and transformation that can happen using this medicine, then this episode is going to be for you. So as I've said in the previous few episodes, and before we dive in here today, I am making a disclaimer that I do not assume any liability for the application of the information contained in this podcast. I am simply presenting this information to you, tribe, to further the quest for a fuller understanding of the human experience and how I believe we can use these medicines to make this a more beautiful world for us all. So with that, again, I am not recommending you go out and use this medicine. And if it calls to you, make sure you give some deep thought and consideration and that it is in alignment with you before you bring it in on your journey. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, let's dive in and talk about integration. As I've mentioned, in previous pods and what I kind of shared in the intro here today, ceremony is really only a small part, especially of the medicine that we really receive from our ceremony experiences when working with plant and earth medicines. The rest of the benefits, really come, as I've experienced and as I truly believe, it comes from the integration of that experience into life and into the journey forward. There really these grand spiritual awakening experiences, these grand healing, these grand transformation experiences. And when you have ceremony, if you do nothing else with it, then some of the blessings and the lessons, the healing, the transformation can be lost on you. So I do want to share, and why I broke this into a 3-part episode is because I felt like sharing with you a little bit about my integration story, along with my biggest takeaways, and lessons and blessings from the medicine, and really how it has changed my life. And I'll be honest, while, ayahuasca and psilocybin have also greatly impacted and shifted and changed my life in beautiful ways, Bufo has probably made the biggest impact on my life and has shaped my life in some of the biggest and most profound ways. So again, in this episode, I'm going to tell you about that. Um, and again, I just kind of want to go through a few of the main lessons. And I'll tell you a few stories that kind of happened in integration. And as I go through kind of these three, I'm kind of putting it into three categories. There's probably a like infinite amount more. But after I go through like these three lessons and some stories around that, I really want to talk about what I've been carrying forward in my life since ceremony. And again, these incredibly impactful and profound changes that I have made in my life because of sitting with this medicine. So, I want to talk a little bit about my first lesson with the medicine. And in this medicine circle that I sat in, which is really important if you're looking at any plant or earth medicines, it's important to have a really good medicine circle. And when I say that, I mean a network of support. A network and group and a tribe of like-minded people that you can connect to and talk about your experience, because it does help you in giving you reflections and giving you perspective on what you went through. Whether that's a coach that you sit with one-on-one, whether it's a group coaching, or whether it can just be, sometimes in medicine circles, they do sharing circles, after the experience. Any of that is really important. And so my first lesson from Bufo really came from my first integration coaching call, which was a group coaching call. And we shared, what our experience was like. And if we wanted, we could ask for reflection and perspective on our experience to, again, help us process, help us integrate what we had just gone through. So in this integration coaching call, I was probably with maybe 7 other people, and it was on Zoom. And then we had our integration coach there with us. And when it was my turn to share, I shared, and really talked about how terrifying it was to go into the darkness. And it was interesting in that call to listen to a few people talk about how blissful it was and how they went into the light. And so as I was sharing, I almost, you start to judge a little bit. And again, I always do my best not to judge, but you're like, oh my gosh, like, why did I experience something so different? Why was I afraid? These people had these blissful, fully amazing experiences where there was no darkness. But I remember, horror, I remember terror along with some of the peace and joy. Right. So, and again, if you're listening to this episode and you haven't checked out the previous 2 episodes, episode 37 and episode 36, make sure you do so you know what I'm talking about in this one. But as I'm in this coaching call, I'm sharing my experience, which you guys have already heard. The integration coach reflected to me that maybe I am afraid of my own darkness. And maybe the reason that it was terrifying, and maybe the reason I even went into the darkness, is because that is a lesson that I need to work on. That's something I need to work on integrating, is my own darkness. And, that really resonated with me and resonated quite deeply, because we all, whether we want to admit it or not, we all have light and dark within us. And I think when we're fully in alignment and we're really embodying our highest self, we accept and love both our dark and our light side. And I know throughout a majority of my life, I've carried shame for my darkness. I've shunned the darkness and only allowed my light in, right? Only allowed people to see my lightness, only, operated in the light. And it was almost kind of like suppressing a lot of my darkness, be them dark thoughts or dark desires or things that society may hold as taboo. Or even some of, the lower vibrational emotions that I experience, right? So that was a big reflection and lesson, for me, is how do I love the dark parts of myself? How do I come to accept myself fully? I talk a lot about accepting yourself fully, and that is embracing, the good, bad, ugly, indifferent, your whole being. And so as I had been, especially, in 2021, really focusing in on my self-love, right? I knew that lesson and that reflection from that coach in that moment was telling me, still more work to do, right? There is something there for me. And I'll be honest, I'm still working with it today at the time of this recording because, accepting both our dark and our light, it's a journey, right? And I catch myself at times, when I am maybe getting self-critical, or when I do start judging myself, or when there are feelings of lack of self-love, it usually is around my darkness. So again, I'm so grateful for this experience and being shown, and expanding my awareness really that there is still healing needed in that aspect. So it was a really beautiful lesson and reflection that happened in integration that, again, I'm still working with today, and have a lot of gratitude because it has allowed me to move into more acceptance, full acceptance of self. And there is a lot of liberation and freedom and love and joy that come from that full acceptance of yourself. So after my coaching call, I love birthdays. You all probably know that about me already. But after my birthday, or after my boof day, right? October 27th was my boof day. I was leaving October 29th to go up and spend some time in Sedona and Cottonwood, Arizona, with one of my best friends, a really high vibing brother of mine. And we were going to celebrate both my birthday and my boof day. And really, what a gorgeous location to spend time in as I began my integration. Because for me, integration is so much about getting back connected, not only to self, but to our Earth Mother, and to slowing down and really just being present with yourself. And so as we traveled, up in the Sedona, Cottonwood, Arizona area, it was a perfect time of year. Late October in that part of the country is gorgeous. And I got to spend so much time in nature, and we were out hiking and earthing and meditating out in nature. And there's some amazing high vibe restaurants there that are just loaded with amazing food that you can, use food as medicine during your integration. There's all these gorgeous views. There's just this beautiful ascended kind of crown chakra energy in Sedona. And again, it really just was a magical place for integration. I felt so much gratitude, during that experience for my life, for my friend, for all the blessings that were around me, and really that deep joy, that deep gratitude brings me into my second lesson, which is, probably one of the bigger takeaways that I had from ceremony. I mean, they're all big, right? But this one I come back to very frequently. And lesson number 2 was, our only purpose here in life is to find our joy in living. And I can tell you my birthday, boof day experience in Sedona and Cottonwood was full of joy. And so again, one of kind of the messages that came in as I'm integrating this medicine, I'm up in Sedona, I'm just having these magical connections with nature, was like this right here, this human experience, us being a spiritual being, living a human experience. This is the magic. This is the blessing. This is, this is heaven, right? Sure, some people make it more like hell, but this is where we want to be. We chose, I believe, as souls to incarnate into a body. And so because we have chosen that, right? And that is our spiritual, path, is to be incarnated in a human body and have this human experience. The main thing you just got to work on is finding your joy in living, and tap into that freaking magic. And so, when I was up in Cottonwood, I was really feeling this energy of, and this lesson of just like, it's about the fucking joy. It's about living and loving and experiencing it. Even, the ebbs and flows of it, even finding the joy in the ebbs, not just the flows, which kind of goes back into lesson 1, about accepting the darkness. How can you find joy in darkness? Maybe that's a whole nother podcast episode, because there's a lot I could say about that. But back to my birthday, Boof Day experience up in Sedona. So one of the coolest things I got to do during this time was I went on a train ride through the Verde Valley with my one dear brother, one of my best friends, and then one of my dear sisters, another best friend, came up for a day trip to join us. And going on this train ride through the Verde Valley, seeing, red rocks and trees and the river, it was so magical. There is a picture that I have on my phone that's probably my favorite picture I've ever taken of myself, where you can just see the joy, you can see the magic, you can just see how tapped into living I am. And that train ride, not only was I with 2 of my best friends, having this amazing, gorgeous experience, but I completely tapped into the joy in living on that train ride. Had my community, had my tribe around me, had a gorgeous experience, was out in Mother Nature, sunshine on my skin, and just living. And, that day and really that whole trip, I feel like we were up there for like 3 or 4 days, but that whole trip, all I wanted to do was to dance and to sing and to be, in Mother Nature, and to, do some grounding and earthing and get that sunshine on my skin and eat, all of these medicinal foods and connect with my tribe, connect with my brothers and sisters. And, part of the joy in living is knowing and trusting and believing in the fact that it is about the journey. It's not about the destination. So as I was going through this experience, that was part of this joy in living lesson, was that it's about the joy in each moment. And again, whether you're ebbing, you're flowing, you're celebrating, you're grieving, hard to maybe find joy in grief. But even in that, again, I think I'm going to have to do a whole episode on that, because, if you're grieving, right, the ability to know and find joy in the fact that you're grieving because you loved something or someone so much, knowing that the reflection and polar opposite of that grief is your capacity to love, that thought alone can be joyful, right? So again, more to come on all of that concept, but, finding joy in each present moment and having gratitude for your life, because every night when you go to bed, you really don't know if you're going to be gifted tomorrow. Even as we go through our days, there is some strange shit that happens in this world that can take your life, and so each moment is a gift, and finding joy in that gift in every moment, man, that is everything. And, am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. There are times when I feel very human and very emotional and I can get down. Okay. But now that I have felt that and I have ascended to that level, this ineffable, enlightenment, joy, bliss state, I know I can get back to it if I put some attention and some energy toward that. And because of the expanded awareness, keeping connected into the joy in living has been very dominant in my life since, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. Whew. Again, you guys, this experience was so much. And even still, as I'm, talking about this and I have notes about what I wanted to share with you, it's hard to find all the words for how powerful and profound this experience was. So thanks for hanging with me. But I want to talk about lesson 3. And they all kind of blend together. But as I was thinking about it, this really stood out to me that I wanted to share because in the previous episodes, I talked about the reactivations of the medicine. And, those reactivations that I was experiencing were definitely real. And initially in the first probably 10 days or so after ceremony, I was experiencing a few reactivations of the medicine each evening. And when I say reactivations, I mean, I was reliving the ceremony experience, almost like a PTSD experience where I was like reliving, what my body was kind of holding onto as a trauma. So I'm dying and coming back and dying and coming back and leaving my body and going out into the void and coming back into our physical reality. And the reactivations were happening so frequently that very quickly I realized I had to train myself to do something to bring myself back into my body. So I trained myself to pinch my pointer finger and my thumb together, which was like a signal. It was like a physical signal that would bring me back into my body. So again, even though it was kind of a PTSD experience because it kept happening, each time it happened, it became less frightening and more joyful. And, each time it connected me back into more of the peaceful feelings, more of the joy in living feelings. And really in this like third lesson, it's that I always was happy to come back into my body. So I alluded to this a little bit in my previous lesson about the joy in living, but it was this love for the physical body is what I'm going to call lesson 3. Because each time I came back in, it was like I was a baby exploring my body for the very first time. And I just felt so much love. I remember I would like touch my face and like stroke my face and like caress my skin. And I would play with my hands and my feet and I just like, rub on them. And every time I would do that, there was just so much love pouring through me. And this just deep connection with love for the physical body and so much gratitude for my body. Again, when I went out into the void and I died and came back, the joy to be alive, the gratitude and deep appreciation and deep love for our human body was magnificent. I've never connected into so much love for myself and for living and having, this physical human body. So that was a really big lesson. And ever since, little things that I do, be it, hiking or, swimming or going for a walk or riding my bike or, making love or eating food, all of these physical sensations that are just full of pleasure and ecstasy and joy. I look at them so much differently and have so much more gratitude for this physical body. And it's also propelled me, to do more to make sure I'm nourishing my vessel and keeping an energy of honoring this beautiful physical, some people call it a skin suit, whatever. It's a gorgeous body. And we're so lucky to have them. So my 3 lessons, right? Talking about really embracing both your light and your dark, accepting yourself fully, having that awareness to love that duality that's in all of us. Lesson 2, finding that joy in living and realizing that this is the magic. This is the blessing to be, again, a soul, right? A spirit, a spiritual being living in a human body and having a human experience and tapping into that joy. So powerful. And then lesson 3, again, appreciating the physical body, loving the physical body, connecting into deep self-love for body, mind, and spirit. But I want to talk a little bit about what, I've been carrying forward since ceremony, because again, it's about integration. All of the lessons that I just shared probably all really came in, within 2 to 4 weeks after my experience. And then I would say, it's been cyclical as to when my Bufo experience comes up, as to when these lessons present in my life. Different things have been coming in, and, I'm on a journey, and life happens, right? There's always things going on. But, I guess when I think about what am I carrying forward, since my ceremony, and what has this whole integration process taught me? Because I'll be honest, I was just gone over this weekend talking about my Bufo experience. And it really tapped me back into the energy of like, how am I living today, based on that experience? And so one of the biggest things I'm carrying forward right now is staying tapped into that joy, right? And so since Bufo, I have done so much more ecstatic dancing and just regular dancing and singing and listening to music. Everything is music, and music can, sound healing is real, and music can really change our vibration. And I find music has been just so much more deeply appreciated. And I listen to it with so much more awareness and gratitude. And it makes me want to move, and it makes me want to sing and dance. And I love hearing the sound of my own voice and feeling the vibrations of my own voice. So I've been doing a lot of that since ceremony. You couldn't stop me from singing or dancing for about, the first 2 weeks after ceremony either. I also have a deep, 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 deep gratitude for living, as I kind of talked about in the lessons. Each day I give thanks to be alive and to have another day, to be on this adventure, to be on this journey. And I've tapped so much more deeply into the gratitude for living. And again, I make sure I honor myself every day and give gratitude for myself, for to spirit, for granting me another day. Another big thing I've carried forward is I've had a lot easier time facing my fears. So I've really let go in a lot of ways of the fear of death. Because quite frankly, I have already died. So I'm really not afraid of it anymore. Now, not that I'm going to go out and, jump off a cliff in a wingsuit, or anything like that. But, things that I feel like were barriers that I was putting up for myself, things that I was letting fear stop me from doing things in business, in relationships, in whatever, in my own journey and adventuring, out into nature. I've really let go of a lot of the fear of death. And that has been powerful. I feel like I've had a lot of magical experiences by releasing the fear and stepping more into trust. And I guess that's probably the biggest piece of this is that I've been carrying forward is trusting more and tapping more and more into unshakable trust that everything's unfolding perfectly and I have nothing to be afraid of. As long as I'm following my intuition and using discernment, right? Again, you will not see me jumping, in a wingsuit off of a mountain anytime soon. That is not for me. But, again, carrying this forward and this experience forward and integration, I really see this life experience as just one big, grand adventure. And I've understood so much more and tapped into more of the power that I am the creator of my life. Just as you are the creator of your life, right? And again, having that trust and knowing that everything is a vibration, and what we choose to align with, we can use law of attraction and law of vibration, to bring in, again, other episodes on that. But, another thing outside of that I've really carried forward is seeing so much as a blessing, being able to find the joy in everything instead of having things feel burdensome or heavy. Again, as I've been recording this episode, I feel like I'm going to do a whole episode on how do we find joy, when life is ebbing, when things feel burdensome. But it's there, and maybe it's not a full expression of joy. Maybe it's gratitude. Maybe it's seeing the lesson or the blessing, but that has been much more easier for me to access during difficult times. And it has provided me more resilience. And I've definitely carried forward a lot of resilience since my ceremony. It's also totally deepened my connection to Gaia, to our Pachamama, to our Earth Mother. Mother Earth is so gorgeous and so beautiful, and she is us. We are created from her, and nature and me have been tight for a while, but now we are even more connected, and it's been really beautiful. And so my default option when I'm feeling off, get out into nature. That serves me so well, which it serves all of you well too. If you're doing it or not, I'm telling you, get out there, do it. But the last thing, that'll kind of end with here is probably one of the biggest things in all of my plant medicine journeys, but the Bufo especially, is it's cultivated a deeper and a burning desire to be of more of a service to our world. This podcast was born out of my ayahuasca journey, and the Bufo journey, I would say, probably has kept me disciplined and has kept me going and recording these episodes for you because it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. It's not easy to run your own business. You've got to have a lot of discipline. You've got to have a lot of focus. And it truly is my burning desire to bring these messages to you so you know what is available to you, as you expand your awareness and honor your journey. So I'm grateful, so grateful for that, to be so deeply connected, from this medicine and integration to keep showing up for you all. So, when I'm feeling out of alignment, I'll kind of end with this today. When I'm feeling out of alignment now, what I think this integration and this Bufo experience has really shown me is if I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling, a little depressed, stressed, anxious, right? I always ask myself now, how can I connect back into my joy in living? How can I show myself some love? And are there parts of me that are in the darkness, right? Are there dark parts of me showing up right now that I need to do a better job of accepting? So because of the lessons, that have come up during my integration experience, again, these are some of my reflection questions. And most of the time I share in a lot of my episodes about self-care and, honoring your energy, right? For me, when I think about tapping back into joy, getting, showing myself some love and, accepting myself more fully, in my wholeness and my duality, a lot of it's self-care. Self-care, self-love practices, getting out into Mother Nature. Again, I have lots of episodes on all the things I do there, but those are my reflection points now. That is what I've taken away in integration. And I'm still working on bringing in every single day. So that has been integration. And I tell you, it's still going on. gosh, what are we? 7, 8, 9, roughly 9 months since the time of my Bufo experience. At the time of this recording, it's been about 9 months, and I'm still integrating. And really, again, it's been so profound, but just know I always share all of this, in my experience and my lessons and my blessings and the wisdom and knowledge that have come in for me to help you, to help you expand your own awareness and your own consciousness. And we're all on a journey, and I really truly want to make sure you feel guided and supported on your journey. And I just trust that, if you're still here with me listening, or watching, right, you feel a little more guided, a little more supported, and that this found you in divine timing as you navigate your journey. So, what I want to really leave you with today is the same reflection questions that I've been asking myself since ceremony. So, when you are feeling out of alignment, ask yourself, how can I connect back into some joy right now? Is there some joy in living that I can tap into? How can I show myself some love? How can I honor my body, my mind, my spirit better? And, are there parts of me that I'm not accepting right now? Especially, are there dark parts, right, that I might be shunning or shaming? And can I do a better job of accepting them? Because I think those 3-ish questions for reflection can help all of us on our journey, as we expand our awareness, expand our consciousness, bring in more mindfulness, right? And go on this spiritual journey. So I leave you with those questions and this integration experience. But as always, I offer free clarity call sessions. And if you want to talk about this journey, if it's right for you, if you have questions about my experience, because there is a lot that I either wasn't able to put words to or didn't have time to share. So I would love to talk to you more about that. Always feel free to sign up for a clarity call. And in that too, if you need support on your journey, know I am here for you. And I'd be honored to guide and support you. But remember, tribe, this is all about us making it a more beautiful world. So as you are expanding, and growing, and you're diving in maybe to plant and earth medicines, I hope you come into it with the energy and the intention of, really raising your own vibration and, remembering what you do for yourself, you do for us all. And that is what's going to make this world a more beautiful place. Okay, that's all for today, tribe. Until next time, mwah, much love to you all. Hey, tribe, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this podcast, make sure to like the video below and then click subscribe so you never miss an episode. And remember, I've got lots of free resources available to you to support your healing, transformation, and ascension so you can help in making this a more beautiful world for us all. Make sure you check them out in the description below. Thanks again for tuning in, tribe. And until next time, much love to you all.